Hello everyone, this is Donna from Embrace the Moon Tarot, and this is a reading to look at what to expect in the month of December for 2022, the last month of the year of 2022. We have 3 groups here, and this is a pick a card or pick a pile reading, and it is sponsored by my business, Embracing the Moon. So if you would like a reading that isn't quite as generalized as this one, then go ahead and check out the link below for options for something that is a bit more personal to you and your situation. It ranges from an intuitive reading to something that has a theme like this winter season, ancestor readings, and so on. So be sure to check that out if you want something that's a bit more personal. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and move on and focus on this particular video's reading. And like I said, this is a pick a pile or pick a group reading. You're going to look at the piles in front of you, group 1, group 2, and group 3, and you're going to figure out which one of these groups you feel most called to or pulled to, or something within what you see resonates, or you feel a vibration or frequency that just feels like you want to know what is with that particular pile. And once you know, you'll go ahead in the description box below and you will click on the timestamps that I will have listed there that'll let you know which one to go to, and you can go ahead and skip forward to that. So once again, take a moment, take a nice deep breath, look at the groups in front of you, group 1, group 2, or group 3, and figure out which one it is that feels like it's calling you or you feel drawn to, and then go down and click the timestamp for that reading and go ahead to that reading. All right, let's begin. All right, group number 1, we're starting with this card, which is a brown bear. And this, one of the things that I noticed right away with this particular reading is that number 15 that is up in the corner there. And if you add, from a numerology perspective, if you add the 1 and 5 together, you get 6. And 6 is that point in a journey, or that point in a season of your life or an experience of your life. The number 6 indicates where you've had a climax, where things have kind of come to a head, where you've reached a point or you've experienced something where everything has come together. Sometimes there may have been some chaos, but the number 6 is what comes after that. When the dust settles, when the chaos starts to kind of dissipate a little bit, when things get slightly clearer, not that it's all gone, not that the journey's over, not that the season or the experience is finished. It's just you've reached that climax and you're kind of on the other side of that. So you are experiencing a bit more clarity or understanding, which is always very helpful, especially when we're going through something that feels like it's lasting forever, or taking a really long time to go the other direction. But this is where I feel like you are going to experience in the month of December. You're going to, at some point at the end of November, beginning of December, you're going to hit a climax and get to the other side of that, and the bulk of the month of December, or the theme of the month of December, or the overall energy, especially when you complete the month of December and reflect upon it, the overall energy of the month of December is going to be a sense of getting to the other side and having a bit more clarity. So then the brown bear itself is actually a symbol of strength and power. There's an idea or a message that's often linked with bear as far as business is considered. So that mentality, that mercantile concept, that the ability to be logistic and rational, to be able to make something from something, and then make you gain from it. So it's not just creating something for something or making something good from something, but be able to benefit from it, make it so that you are actually gaining something from it. So this is what I feel like the bulk of the month of December is for you. It's also a calling on you to continue to stay strong. So whatever it is that you're experiencing, especially if you do end up still having a little bit of that chaos happening before the dust settles, a reminder to remain strong, remember your power. And then the other half of that is also the hibernation that we know happens as far as bears are concerned in the month of December, or in the winter months, in the areas that have a cold climate during winter months, the very cold climate. And so these bears do have a tendency to rest. They do wake up once in a while to come out and feed, but they do have a tendency to rest. So this is another reminder for you for the month of December. So whatever it is you're experiencing, you know, that climax, that chaos, getting to the other side of it, interwoven with this is a call for you to know when to act and know when to rest. So make sure that when you are seeing things, if it's a lot of events that you aren't really needing to participate in, you are perfectly permitted to go ahead and go back to your cave and rest a little bit and come out when you need to come out when you need to restock your reserves or get a little bit of nourishment or nutrition, but knowing that balance of when to rest and heal and when you're supposed to be taking action. That way you're reserving your strength and using that strength only when you need to. So that is what's coming in strong with that brown bear energy, and that is your theme. And if you really wanted to, you could probably really connect with the concepts of the brown bear by digging a little bit deeper in what the symbology of brown bear may mean from a spiritual perspective, and even operate off of that if you really felt inclined to do so. We're moving on with the Queen of Chalices. I feel like this is coming in strong with the emotional aspect. We have water in water. Queen is a symbol of water, and chalices, of course, is also a symbol of water. There's a lot of emotional aspect that's coming in, but it's from a mature perspective. The understanding that you have emotional maturity to handle the situation, or a call for you to remember emotional maturity in a situation. There's also, for some of you, a call that you are going to be developing some emotional maturity. And a lot of times that means there are some situations that we have to go through, and that we get those tools. They're the hard lessons. They're the tools that we get from hard lessons, but we come out of it a bit more intelligent. And in this particular aspect, it's going to be emotional intelligence. But this feels like this is just coming in very strong with the emotional aspect of your being. So a lot of water energy and the link that we have with emotions. So make sure that you keep control of the emotional aspect. I think that when you draw in what I've already said about the brown bear, knowing when to hibernate is coming in strong. So knowing when you need to just step away and keep to yourself. It doesn't mean that you step away and keep to yourself entirely all the time, but it's just essentially that call to step away and take time to heal, or to just not be involved with the emotional flood that might be happening around you. Stepping away so you don't get overwhelmed, stepping away so that the emotional flood that may be happening around you doesn't kind of grab you and pull you under like an undertow, really kind of keeping your sense of stability, knowing how to stay on the throne and staying out of it if it really doesn't call for you to be involved. I'm hearing the word gossip. Gossip is coming up, and gossip can come in many, many different forms. And we have so many more layers of that now that we have social media in such a prevalent part of our life. But if there is some aspect of gossip that is involved with that, this is a call for you to stay out of it. You will come out on the other side better if you stay out, if you do not get involved in the gossip aspect. Doesn't matter who it involves, whether it's you or someone you know or you love or someone you dislike, it doesn't matter. There's a call for you to step away from the gossip so that you don't get marred, or you don't get pulled under from the undercurrent that has a likelihood to be involved with whatever that is referencing. Continuing on with the Eight of Chalice, more emotional stuff. Chalice, again, the water. Eight of Chalice has to do with walking away from something. And with this particular image, the cups that are behind them are all upright. So there's not disharmony, there's not destruction, there's not any sort of, spilled milk sort of concept with this. So the emotional aspect is intact. So there's not a sort of disruption or disease or disharmony that is involved with this emotional aspect, but there's still the emotional undertow of whatever we feel when we go through something. So it can still have a sense of grief or loss, or a sense of mourning, or, those emotions that come with sadder times or sadder things or sadder circumstances. So things are intact, but you still have that emotional aspect of things being sad or something along that line. But this is also you walking away from it. In this particular image, the back is turned. Eight of Chalices usually indicate something along that line as far as leaving something behind or walking away from something. And so there's definitely a sense of walking behind. So I feel like the month of December, you might not actually physically be able to walk behind or walk away from, or you might not get to a point where you are completely walking away from something, but from either a metaphorical perspective or just experiencing an epiphany that lets you know it's time to let this go. This is something you're going to be experiencing. This feels a little bit more towards mid to a little bit, maybe 2/3 of the way through the month of December. You just experience that understanding, that clarity that you need to recognize, okay, it's time to move on. It's time to walk away. It's time to really let this go, or time to not let this be such a big part of my character or my personality or my life. You can still be involved if you need to in some cases. For some of you that it resonates for you to not completely walk away. You just have to walk away enough that it's not impacting you on an emotional perspective. That is applicable too. But there's definitely a sense of reaching a point where you know that you have to release the grip that this particular emotional message that comes along with whatever these circumstances are referencing, knowing that it's time to move on, is coming in very, very strong. We're continuing on with the 8 of Pentacles. Very interesting that you have 2 8s in a row, 8 having to do with that concept of infinity, that concept of kind of eternal, always being a part of you. So there's a connection that is a bit more long-term regarding the situation, not only in your past, but also how it influences your future. But the 8 of Pentacles also is coming in to let you know that you need to focus on something that has already been good to you. Something that you know is good to you, good for you, brings out the best in you, something that you have a good relationship with, a craft or a skill, an interest, a hobby. You're just being called to spend the dark times within the winter months, or if you are just experiencing a personal winter season, there's a call for you to focus on that thing that you know just helps you, has a sense of therapy to it when you practice it or you engage with it. It's calling you to reach out and engage with whatever that is and spend time doing that, maybe honing it a little bit. Just it's not even a point of view of trying to increase a skill set. It really is the perspective of giving you something to do that keeps you busy, but it keeps you busy in a healthy way. It keeps your mind busy, but in a healthy way. It feeds your soul while you're doing it. So it comes in along the line of some sort of hobby. And traditionally, when we think of hobbies, it usually is some sort of art or craft, but it might be something for you that's different. It might be that you really enjoy taking a walk at sunset because you like how the colors engage in the sky and it makes you feel a certain way. It could be something like that. So it can be a non-traditional hobby, but something that you do on a regular basis that you know you're good at, that you know boosts your confidence and has a sort of therapeutic sense of being or state of being. That is what this particular card is calling for you to do, is calling for you to engage with. We're continuing on with the star card. And this, I feel, is coming in more towards the end of the month of December. This is a message to let you know that as you are completing the month of December and some of these things are coming together, coming to a close, you're getting a bit more clarity on past events, how they impact current events, and what kind of trajectory you can sort of be aware is possibly going to happen in the coming year, or however long this may impact, because everybody's story is different. This is letting you know that you're going to gain guidance. That direction that you may be seeking, the answers that you may be seeking, that external guidance that sometimes we look for, whether you perceive it to be from your spirit guides or your ancestors or deity or your higher self. It doesn't really matter. The overall message is just that, you know, that thing that you're looking for, where you have that clarity or that insight, that guidance, it's going to come. But right now, you're just experiencing the heaviness of the situation, and some of that has to disperse before you're able to see the stars. So that idea of if it's a cloudy night, you may know where the star is, but you can't see it. You may know where the North Star is, but you can't see it. That sort of sense. So the bulk of what you have been experiencing, and a little bit of that is still going to happen through the month of December, where you can't quite see where that North Star is. Metaphorically, this is letting you know that eventually that will disperse. Those clouds will finally give way, and you will finally be able to look up and see that guiding star. And when you see that, you'll be able to understand the direction that you're supposed to be taking. You'll understand how what your next step is. And there's a good chance that even when you do understand what your next step is, you're still going to go in and hibernate, because you still need to rest just a little bit more before you start the journey, whatever that journey may be. But this is just letting you know that that energy is going to be there and going to be available for you. But that is more towards the end of the month of December. Moving on to the Knight of Pentacles, this is just coming in strong with that sense of stability, that sense of feeling like you're finally grounded, feeling like your root chakra is no longer disturbed or agitated. This is what the Knight of Pentacles is coming in for me, for you. You are going to get to that point. This does feel much more towards the end of December. Again, that's also where that North Star guidance and clarity is coming in. So towards the end of the month, there is definitely a sense of closure that's happening, closure that makes you feel a bit more settled, a bit more grounded, a bit more stable. And so when this happens, more mental clarity is going to come with it. That's where the Knight comes in. More mental clarity is going to come with that. And along with that is going to come the ability to feel like you can take action, the ability to take what you've learned, the insight that you have, your experience, and do something with it. And it's not something that you're required. It's not like they're going to have a requirement to follow through, as much as you just have clarity and you're like, oh, I get it now. Now I know that this is the next step. Now I know this is what the journey is, or where I need to go. The Knight, I misspoke when I said the mental clarity is the Knight. That still stands true. There is mental clarity with it, but the Knight actually comes in with fire. Knight is related to fire action. So there's just this movement that's coming in, but the mental clarity is still plays a part with that, and understanding what it is that you desire, or what direction that you desire to go, and then having that confidence to be able to pursue or follow through with it, whatever it may be. We're coming in with the Strength card, really repeating that strength message, but from a warrior perspective, from a traveler perspective, from someone who is a go-getter and is on the journey to start. This is coming in strong, letting you know that this is going to continue to build. And I feel like whatever it is, the clarity that you get, the understanding that you get, more of the action is going to come into play more so in the spring. But that understanding that allows you to rest, that allows you to be more at peace internally, that is what you're going to gain. And so you might not necessarily feel like you're ready to take action. Most likely the action that you feel needs to take place is still not going to take place until the spring for a good bit of you. But that clarity that you get that allows you to feel a sense of peace is definitely factoring in with what you're going to experience as you move towards the end of the month, and then move forward from there. So strength, courage, remember to continue to encourage yourself, or do things that make you feel encouraged, or connect with people that make you feel encouraged. But boosting your strength, and some of the ways that you boost your strength is from rest. And ironically, this is another card that is coming in. This is the last card that's coming in, that rest. We have the number 15 coming in again, which is very interesting. And so definitely rest, like that duality, that understanding of how our sense of strength and power comes in play when we're well rested. And it just is, I love it when a reading does this, because I shuffle, I don't look for cards, I shuffle and I put them all down. I don't even see them. I turn them over whenever I'm doing this reading one by one. I don't see them until I turn them and I show you. And I just love the fact that this is repeating what I started the message out with, which was the month of December is going to be about courage, but it's also going to be about rest. It's going to be about strength and power, but it's also about hibernating and knowing when to rest and heal, and knowing when to stay in that sense of hibernation, or stay in that cave until you know it's time to get out and do the thing that you have to do. But a moment that is completed, go back to rest. So that duality, that balance between rest and power and strength and knowing is the key for the month of December. taking action, but also taking rest, making sure it's healthily balanced between the two. And when you do that, when it is time to really kind of move forward, whatever it is that you're moving forward to, whatever you are being directed to, you're going to be fully empowered and you're going to be at your full strength, because you only used strength when you needed to. And when you weren't feeling the need to do things that required strength from you, required action from you, you were resting, which conserved your strength for future use. All right, I hope this helps you for the month of December. I hope this has brought you some clarity and insight about what the future month may hold for you. And again, if you would like a personal reading, feel free to check out the link box below. Other than that, have a beautiful December, and I will see you in a future video. Hello, group number 2. This is your reading, and we are starting out with your first card here, Notre Dame. So the first thing that came to mind when I saw this particular card right away was the fact that this particular church had been destroyed by fire. Not completely destroyed, but there was some destruction that had happened. And so that really kind of came across very, very strongly. And I feel like that's coming in because you have experienced, whether it's the recent past or a long time ago, a bit of a destruction of something that was old, an old paradigm. Something about the old system or the old structure has crumbled quite a bit for you. Something about what once was, what once was very strong, what once was very stoic, what was once very a foundational part of your existence or of the system or the relationship you had with a system or an institution, that whatever that is, something about it has experienced a portion of it has been destroyed. Maybe not its entirety, maybe in its entirety, that depends on to you, however that resonates. But there is something about an old system, an old structure, an old paradigm, an old institution that you had some form of a relationship with that has experienced destruction. So I feel like that is coming in from the past. That's not only the current message of December, but it's a past event, be it recent or long ago, that is influencing how things are going to kind of roll in and unfold for the month of December. Now, that all being said, this card also means that it's just an indication for solitude or isolation. I feel like for a good bit of you, it's not necessarily a call for solitude and isolation as much as a call for you to make sure that you are not engaging in too much of isolation or too much of solitude. There's nothing wrong with taking time for yourself. There's nothing wrong with doing that hermit sort of energy where you just want to kind of isolate or be away from, and you experience, sometimes you can experience great times of healing and progress from a personal standpoint, but sometimes we can get in that point where we're so isolated that we almost get too comfortable with that. And then that makes it so that anytime we step away from that, it's very uncomfortable, and we don't want to bother breaking out of that because of how uncomfortable breaking from that becomes. And that's solely because we have gotten too comfortable in being isolated and too comfortable in being sort of away from everything. And so this is coming in letting you know that you need to be wary as you move through the month of December, whether you have already been engaging in that too much or you have the potential of engaging in it too much. It doesn't matter. In December, the message is that you really need to be very conscientious of the amount of isolation and solitude that you're practicing. You do not want that to become your comfort zone, and you don't want that to become such a part of your comfort zone that you never break out of that. That's a slippery slope. And so this is just a message to you to just be very wary of the signs. Maybe even kind of contact someone who knows you well enough to be able to remind you or to tell you that you're getting a little too comfortable in isolation. Whatever the case may be, essentially, the month of December is just a warning to not engage too much in isolation and solitude. There's nothing wrong with doing it because you just need a little bit of time to regroup, but there's a fine line between giving yourself a little time to regroup and going a little bit too far, and next thing you know, that is your comfort zone, and that's what you want to avoid. You don't want that to be your comfort zone. The Four of Athames is letting me know that there's definitely some things that you're dealing with. There's some heavy energy that you're dealing with. You're really kind of going through a time period where you have to rest and you have to think things through, which is why it's very easy to get into that comfort zone of isolation and solitude. In this particular image, this person is isolated as well. And not only is they're isolated, but if you look, that you have this other creature of nature in the water here, just off the way, but there's swords actually creating a wall between the person in the ground here and that particular part of the living creature of earth. And so again, that isolation, that solitude is really coming up very strong. And along with that is just the message of there's nothing wrong with taking time for yourself, because we heal a lot of times when we have times or moments of solitude where we can think and process our thoughts and think and process our emotions and what have you. But there's a fine line, and sometimes it's not very easy for us to see when we're in the thick of it. We don't always see the wall of swords that we put up that isolates us to a point that is actually not beneficial. It's actually very heavy for us. So again, really coming in strong, letting you know, yes, there is healing and therapy and taking time, separating ourselves from others or separating ourselves from situations or experiences, but there's a fine line. You need to be very wary of how deep you're getting into that solitude, and is it helping, or have you reached a point where you are isolating in a way that is actually going to be very hard for you to break free of if you're not very careful. We're continuing on with the Seven of Wands. Again, this is letting me know that this is coming in with past energy. So it's like these cards so far are letting me know that there's a past event that is very heavily influencing your December energy. The way you feel, the way you see, your perspective, what you may be experiencing from an emotional or mental aspect. Seven of Wands is also coming in, letting me know it's the same sort of thing. There's something that has occurred in the past, and you really had to go through this point of needing to fight for survival is the term that comes to mind. And there's a sense of exhaustion. You're just tired of always fighting to survive. You'd like to be able to just live without feeling like so much of living requires a battle or a struggle. And so this is what the Seven of Wands is coming in through for me, is that you're just at a point where you're just tired. You're very tired of fighting. You're tired of persevering. You're tired of keeping a stiff upper lip. You're tired of turning the other cheek. You're looking for the light, or smiling or faking it when you're to make it. All of those concepts, however that may apply. The month of December, you're really, if you haven't felt it yet, you're experiencing that sense of just being done with it all. And unfortunately, along with this comes this message of you just got to keep taking one day at a time. You need to keep boosting yourself or surrounding yourself with things that boost your morale, that encourage you, that supports you, that tells you that you're not alone, that tells you that you are stronger than you think. And you need to be finding ways that allows you to be able to rest in a way that heals you, but doesn't isolate you to the point where you're completely disengaged or disassociated from emotions and events and situations and people and what have you. So there's a healthy balance is what's being referenced here. Understanding that healthy balance, knowing when you need to rest and versus when you need to fight. And I feel like for some of you, the reason why that particular message comes in is because for some of you, some of the battles weren't necessary. There were some battles that you felt were necessary to fight, and in all actuality, you could have just walked away and kind of stood off to the side and not engaged and conserved your strength during that particular battle. And this may not be applicable to everybody, but this is just something I feel has come through, and so I'm just going to put it out there. Like I said, there's some battles that you don't have to fight. It's not necessary. It'll dissipate on their own. So conserve your energies, kind of be a little more choosy with your battles, but again, do not isolate completely to the degree of, just being completely disengaged. There's definitely a request for you to not engage to an extreme level. We're continuing on with the Five of Athames, really continuing on with that sense of solemn, that sense of loss, that sense of being cheated, that sense of things not lining up in the right way. And again, I don't feel that this is what is going to happen in December, as much as these are things that have happened in your past, and they're all kind of the emotions that come with that. The baggage that come with these past experiences is going to be coming up whenever you're moving through the month of December. So if you're someone who's engaging in shadow work, this might be something that might be a theme. These things might be themes in your shadow work. So you're just going to be dealing with, again, past emotion issues where there was some sort of sense that someone robbed or stole something from you, or someone in some regard kind of conned you out of something, however that may be. Whatever it is, as you move through the month of December, you're going to remember and reflect on this. And this happens during the December months. This happens during the winter season, whether it is an actual true winter season where you're experiencing the dark nights, the longer nights that happens in the wintertime, or if it's just a personal winter season, because we do have personal winter seasons that don't always match completely with nature in and of itself. So either one can apply. So if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you're still watching this and this is resonating, it's fine, because sometimes our winter personal seasons don't always match the season that we're living in. Whatever the case may be, during the winter season, we do experience that, where we reflect on past events, and then we have to work through the emotions of those past events, what we still may feel or we don't feel, or how we analyze them. And we analyze what we do feel, and we analyze what we don't feel. But that going inward and kind of thinking about it and looking at it and breaking it down, and like I said, analyzing it. This is what I feel is coming in on the month of December for you. You're going to be spending time really kind of contemplating past events, traumas, issues, experiences, and the emotion that comes in with that, and then how it plays a part in who you are now and who you want to be, and what you can do for yourself. And as you work through these emotions, they're going to be heavy. And of course, when that happens, we do have to be mindful again that we're not isolating too much, that we're not spending too much time in solitude. But again, these are past events that have happened, and the emotional aspect of it, the mental aspect of it, the way that they have impacted who we are, of the decisions that we've made, where we're at in our life. These are themes that are going to be coming up in the month of December. We're moving on to the standing stone. I feel like this is really calling you to come in and connect with ancestors. It's giving me very strong ancestor vibes. So communing or connecting with ancestors to get some answers, to get some insight, letting you feel like you can see things from a perspective that's a bit more broad than what you may be experiencing when you're just taking it and reflecting on it from your personal position with where you're at. They're definitely kind of looking at ancestor work, possibly even looking at ancestor healing. So maybe there's some trauma that it was experienced in ancestor line. So ancestor healing, ancestor communication. This is just really coming in strong with ancestor connection and engaging in that to help you move through this and to help you move forward. We're continuing on to the Four of Wands, and this is just letting me know that you are going to get to the point, and to always remember that you are going to get to the point, and you already are at a point where you're more stable than you're giving yourself credit for, and to celebrate the good stuff. No matter how stressful things are, you should find ways to celebrate the good stuff. It's not bypassing, it's just recognizing successes. It's recognizing how grounded you already are. It's a way of encouraging yourself to work through things that may be otherwise heavy or otherwise make you feel unstable. It's just a way to remind yourself that you are more than just the situation. You are more than that particular experience. You're more than the emotions that you're experiencing at that time. So celebrating your successes. But the other half of that is to let you know that this will all eventually pass. And you'll actually be more stable. You'll feel more stable as a result of it, because you've worked through it, and your clarity will have grown or expanded as a result of it. Moving on to communication, I feel like this is coming in strong with that ancestor communication. The imagery alone is just hitting good and hard. These are two different decks, are from two different people, but I absolutely love the fact that this card came in with very strong ancestor vibes, and a lot of the things that you see in the imagery here is repeated here. here. The labyrinth or the indication towards a labyrinth. I mean, that's the labyrinth here, but you still have the indication of that. The stone, this actually is pulling in more feeling or more vibes of ancestor work when you look at the smoke, and she's at something like an altar, or what you would consider I would consider an altar, and connecting to the other world. So really pulling in ancestor vibes. I feel like this is letting you know that as you're working through this, connect with the ancestors, but also for some of you, what might resonate with that is ancestor healing things from your past. Not necessarily, it can be people that you know, but it might just be ancestor from a collective point of view, but definitely ancestor communication, connection, communion, possibly even healing. Responsibility is letting me know that there's things that you are going to have to take responsibility for as you move forward. And this feels very broad. If you feel a sense of, if you feel like when I say you're going to have to take responsibility and you feel slightly triggered, whatever your mind went to when you felt triggered, that's most likely not something that you're being told that you're going to have to be responsible for, but it is something you're going to have to work through for you to get clarity on what it is that you're responsible for. So however that resonates, take it. And if it does not resonate, just leave it. That's fine. But I feel like this is just going to be responsibility and the concept of moving forward. Seeing what aspects you're responsible for, seeing what other aspects you're accountable for, but also just you're responsible for moving forward. However that may look for you, only you can take that step forward. So that's coming in strong with that. Like only you can take that step forward. This is coming in strong with that concept of ancestor connection too. And I feel like the responsibility portion of that is coming in with that concept of doing the work that allows you to heal ancestor things, ancestor line, ancestor communication, maybe ancestor trauma, whatever the case may be. That's on your shoulders now, so that your descendants, whether they are your actual descendants or maybe you have cousins and nieces and nephews that you can relate to as a kind of descendant concept. By doing this work, the spiritual work, and connecting in this way, you're actually not only just healing things for yourself, you're healing things for them. So there's definitely a call for responsibility and the progress of moving forward. And that's going to look different from everybody, but it does feel like that's coming in strong with that ancestor connection and the ancestor work that I've already referenced. Okay, group number 2, that is all I have for you. I hope this reading has blessed you, has given you insight, and allowed you to feel that you have some clarity and empowerment to move forward. Once again, if you would like something that is more personal to you, be sure to check out the link below from my website for a different list of personal readings. And until next time, I hope you have a blessed December, and we'll see you hopefully in a future video. Hello, group number 3, and welcome to your particular reading. We are starting off with this one card called Christmas Markets. And I feel like this is a call for you to engage in festivities, whether it's with friends or families, or just going out and being out where there may be a festival that you could engage in, but really kind of getting involved and really feeling yourself being filled with the season and the festivities that happen at this time of year. Now, obviously in the Northern Hemisphere, we have Yule. In the Southern Hemisphere, you're going to have the summer solstice, but you're all the world around. There's definitely remnants of Christmas celebration. So whatever it is that you want to engage with that really kind of lights you up, this is what you're being called to do. I do feel like this is a very strong call to get out with people. You don't have to have intimate connections. It doesn't have to be an intimate gathering or an intimate connection. It can just be you being out, walking among other people, allowing yourself to feel the energy that happens when there's a crowd of people who are engaging in something together. But this is definitely the call that I'm getting for you. Spend time out, enjoying the festivities, allowing yourself to be surrounded by and filled with that energy, that festive energy. So get out there and engage whatever way you feel comfortable, confident, and safe in doing, but definitely figure out a way that you can do that, however that may look for you. We're moving on with the crone, and this is just letting me know that there is a sense of, the first word that comes to mind is wisdom. So I do feel like you're being called to call on or engage with a sense of wisdom. there's definitely an ancient wisdom that's coming in with this particular card. So connecting with something that's ancient, someone that's ancient, that allows you to gain a perspective that's beyond modern times, that's beyond what's in front of you, that's beyond what we are always inundated with as far as what the current times or current trends. There's a call for you to connect with something that's ancient, old. And it doesn't necessarily have to be ancestors. It can just be festivities. It can be connecting with Yule instead of Christmas. It can be a specific deity. However this translates, however this resonates, there's just a call for you to connect with someone or something ancient. I'm being told spending time in an antique shop may be a good thing for some of you. Whether you do this on a regular basis and just feel that it's time, you haven't done it in a while, or maybe it's you felt called to, but you haven't taken the time, definitely a call for you to go out there and be among old things, old buildings, old parts of nature, older people, maybe going to the nursing home or some sort of residential home and bringing joy to them. But there's a connection with something that is from the old world that you're being called to connect with, engage with, and find ways to expand yourself through those in connections and engagements. What's really interesting is we're continuing on with the Holly King. And so we have here both old female and old male. So again, really vibing or connecting with some ancient something or someone. I do feel like this is a call for some of you to engage with some older gods that either they're not as popular when you're looking through other people's work on the spiritual community, on Facebook, social media in general, whatever the social media platform is that you prefer to use. But there are some deities or gods that are old and we don't necessarily know their name, or maybe they initially come through with a face or the energy of a more modern or a more accepted or more trendy god or goddess. But the more you work with them, you realize that they are kind of like that, but they also seem to predate those beings. This is what it's coming in through for me. A little bit of also Santa and Mrs. Claus vibes. So again, connecting with those old themes of what once was, ancient wisdom, ancient connections, ancient energies, ancient times. This is coming in very strong with really connecting with ancient. Like it's not just old, it's ancient. So it's not just, older in the sense of from the 80s or the 50s. I'm talking really long time ago, almost forgotten. And the hard part about that is that when you connect with these things that are that ancient, you really have to rely on your intuition to guide you, because there's very few who either are connecting with them, or there's very few who are talking about connecting with them, even if they are connecting with them. They're not hitting the trends as much in the platforms on social media as far as the spiritual community or spiritual groups are concerned. So you looking for someone who relates or is posting content that helps you to validate the experiences that you have. They're harder to find. They're fewer and further between if they exist at all. I know it's trending for in some pockets or corners of the internet for there to be people who talk about works with some ancient beings, but I feel like these are not the trending ones. These are the ones who predate the gods and goddesses of the myths that we know so well from Norse or Greek mythology. They are the original faces of those gods before they were fractured in the stories that we currently know in Norse mythology. And Norse mythology comes up very, very strong, mostly because that's generally where we connect Santa Claus with. Whether that's true or not, I know that's up for debate, but this is just what's coming through. So this is what I'm delivering to you so that maybe you can get perspective or understanding on what you're experiencing or what you're connecting with. But this is what I'm getting, that those particular mythologies, and like I said, the gods and goddesses that existed, or god and goddess specific, one god, one goddess, before they were fractured in the various stories that we now know them, and the modern variations, and even the modern variations of mythology is not modern, but what I'm trying to convey is that these beings are even more old than those old myths. And so I feel like the reason why this is coming through is because you have an awareness you've already connected with, or you're feeling called to connect with. And this is just a bit of insight as well as encouragement for you to continue down that path if it is something that you do feel you want to continue to pursue. Or coming in with Queen of Pentacles. This is coming in with the vibes of someone that you would go to who is experienced, that you would go for questions, to get answers, for more wisdom. So again, that theme of wisdom, but someone that you know that you could connect with. And this doesn't have to be an intimate connection. I do feel like coming across somebody on social media that seems to be on a similar path that you're being called to, that is applicable too. You can get to know them and you can utilize their services, whatever their services may be. If you're feeling called to utilize them because you feel like they have a foundation in what it is that you're feeling called to, then you can engage and incorporate whatever it is that they have to offer into your path or into your particular journey. But there's definitely a connection with someone you're being called to, kind of like a mentor who can guide you. And it does feel very feminine. It doesn't have to be, but a good many of you, it is a being that has a person that has a feminine quality, very strong, very earthy qualities that makes you just feel like they are grounded in their sense of self, their sense of their practice. And so you just know that they can offer advice, mentorship, and services that you know you're going to grow from if you engage with them and ask for them to help you with whatever this is referencing in your personal journey. Battle Wagon is letting me know that this is definitely going to still be quite a battle as you move forward. Again, this particular, these beings that are coming through are older beings. There's not a lot of information out there. And then, so there's going to be this internal struggle of what is known and what you intuitively receive, because a lot of times they're not going to match. So that battle that you have of the ego versus the subconscious, or the ego or the mind versus the intuition, that grapple that can happen because you know what you know because what you've been seeing, or because of what you've been ingrained with. And then you also know what you receive intuitively, and that knowing is so strong and has never led you astray before that you want to lean towards that, but sometimes they don't match. What you see and know doesn't match the intuitive seeing and knowing. And so that's the battle that you're going to have as you move through the month of December, as you try to figure out what this calling is, as you try to figure out what direction you're going, as you try to figure out how you're going to pull all of this together and how it's supposed to apply to your life. There's definitely going to be a bit of a battle as you plunge forward, but I do feel like you are going to succeed in ways that you probably don't fully understand yet. But as you progress forward, clarity will come. We have Two of Wands. There's definitely some action that's being called on your part. So again, that duality, that facing, that movement forward, the mind versus subconscious or spiritual aspects or intuitive aspects, and how it guides you, and then knowing what action you're supposed to be taking. That's coming in strong. But I feel like this is letting me know too, the Two of Wands is letting me know the image that really comes in strong is the fact that there is a nice homey cottage. I get really nice home vibes with this particular image. So no matter what it is that you're going through, there's also, as you move through this, a sense of home. So the more research that you do and the more understanding that you have about what these are referencing and what you're researching, the more at home you feel, even though it might not match what you know other people might perceive or what you've been ingrained with. Despite it not matching, there's an overall sense that it also feels at home, which is why you keep searching, which is why you keep looking. So there's definitely a pull for you to, you're going to feel that pull to continue researching, even when it disrupts how you perceive things, or it disrupts that, things that you've been ingrained with. No matter how disruptive it might feel every once in a while, I feel like you'll continue to pursue, because there's just this overall sense of coming home. And that's why you keep going back, because it just feels like home, even though it matches nothing else that you see or research. in a lot of ways, as far as what's trending, it still feels like home. And so you keep going back, you keep researching. So this is really coming in strong as you move through the month of December. I feel like it's coming in very strong, very much around the Yule time, the Yule season. So around the 21st of December, you know, maybe a couple of days before, maybe a couple of days after, but around that time period is when it's going to be really strong. And I do feel like you might be doing some work, personal work for yourself as a result of it, or plan some personal work for yourself. It's not necessary, but if you feel called to do, then go ahead and do so. But definitely, I'm just feeling a very strong pull to that ancient beings, and what that may mean and define for you. Grace is coming in next. I feel like this is basically a call for you to give yourself grace as you work through this. Again, there's not a lot of references for you to go off of. And I do feel like there will be times where you will come across references in what you're seeking, and it doesn't match what you know or what you feel or what you sense. And it's just letting you know to give yourself grace. Take what resonates, leave the rest. And if that's supposed to, whatever it is that you leave behind, if it's a theme or something that you're supposed to go over again, it will come back on your radar, come back in your periphery. It will show itself once again, reveal itself once again, and then you'll be able to get from it more because the clarity will be there. So take what resonates, give yourself grace, take what resonates, leave the rest, and know if it's something that's supposed to hold true, it will return, or you will return to it. And finally, we have awareness. I feel like this is just coming in, letting you know to just continue to be very aware of your surroundings, aware of signs and symbology that you may see, things that you know you've intuitively received when you've done meditation or when you've done communication or connections, and you know certain things mean certain things for you. When you see them again and again, whatever they may be, numbers, colors, songs, symbology, whatever the case may be, when you see it, you know that it means something to you. You may not have come across anything that says that is what it means. You just know that is what it means for you. Just be aware and look for those symbology, look for those confirmations. Don't seek them out. Just have your awareness to be open so that you can receive them. So it's not researching and constantly searching and basically trying to run down these symbologies, as much as you're just open and aware so that when they come into your life, when they come into your existence, you can sense the confirmation that comes with it or the communication that comes with it. That's what the awareness is coming in, letting you know that if you just stay open and aware as you move through the month of December, things will just continue to openly come to you, reveal itself to you. You'll feel more confirmed, more confident, and you'll be able to go further into this path, whatever this path may be for you. All right, that is all I have for you, group number 3. I hope this has brought some clarity, insight, and empowerment as you move through the month of December, as you grow and expand your personal practice and personal insight, however that may apply. Again, if you are interested in a reading that is more specific to you, then feel free to check out the link below for my website for various readings that I have and offer there. Other than that, I hope you have a blessed December, and we will see you in a future video.